The UK is very well known for its gloomy weather. It's not a false stereotype, it's true. It's very wet and miserable here, especially during the winter. And that's been especially true over the last couple of days. Blimey, honestly, I'm not over exaggerating here. My allotment is swamped out completely. And I've actually got the wellies on today. I've not worn the wellies in a long time. Usually I just wear walking boots around the allotment because, you know, usually it's relatively dry in the summer and I can get away with it, but not today. No, it's way too wet to be wearing those today without slipping and sliding around everywhere. Yeah, and I've actually made a little bit of a mistake. I actually removed some of the wood chip paths to help fill up these new raised beds which I'm building soon. Yeah, I scooped up some of the wood chip paths, which means those wood chips weren't there anymore to soak up the moisture and provide a dry path for me to walk on. So now, yeah, it's a little bit wet. So yeah, bit of a silly thing. Speaking of poor timing, literally days before this heavy rain came, I scooped these up. It started to dry out a bit now actually. I've been here a few hours now. It was worse than this. Yeah, there's a lot of puddles everywhere now because I've scooped the wood chip up to help fill these raised beds up, which I'm going to be building. So that was a silly thing. Similar story over here with the wet. This corner of the allotment always gets really wet. All the water gathers up in this corner. I mean, this corner looks absolutely horrific. You know, I really do need to sort this out. This is going to get sorted. I need to build new borders around here. All the old wood's been removed. I may actually extend the bed out here and raise this up and just have this area here as a patio, because a lot of water gathers there. So maybe we could combat that issue by doing that. I don't know yet. We've now got another problem with this wood which we were trying to burn. Well, we were trying to dry it out but yeah, it's now wet again. Maybe I need to cover this over with tarp to dry it out, because we're just not going to get a dry day where this dries out in the sun. It's just not going to happen. Or I'll just have to get a big fire going and then throw it in gradually to slowly burn it, I think. Because when the fire gets going, you know, chucking little bits of wet wood in there, you know, the fire's hot enough to dry it out and burn it. So we're going to be doing that next week when I'm off. I think I'm off next week. Now my plan with being off is to get these raised beds done. I'm going to be getting loads of these built, hopefully. That's the plan. And apart from that, guys, just tidying. I think tidying up. Really does need a big tidy up. It's quite messy at the moment. This strawberry cage lid needs to be taken apart. I'm going to be putting this mesh around the pallet compost space. I'm going to show you that in a minute on the new plot. This is another winter project in here, strawberry cage. Of course, very wet in here as well. Waterlogged soil, look at that. That's just, yeah, ridiculously wet. I'm going to be growing strawberries in buckets in here next year. The buckets which I'm talking about is these. Yeah, these ones I'm going to be growing my strawberries in. These are brilliant buckets. I've used these for a good few years now. I actually got these from Oakland Gardens. Tony O'Neill from Simplify Gardening has a promo code. I think Simplify 30, I think it is. You can get you can get 10 of these delivered for £30, which is a blimmin' bargain, isn't it? Absolute bargain. Yeah, I'm going to sit around 20 of them bad boys in there, fill them up, get some strawberries in. I've got loads of strawberries from runners in the greenhouse to plant next year. Job's a good one. That's my plan with that, and then just throw green netting over the top so I don't have to faff around with this stupid door which I built. That's one of them things where I look back and I'm like, why did I build that? I don't know. But yeah, we're going to do away with that and use those materials for the door for something else. Yeah, look how wet it is round here. Blaming heck. That's just, yeah, this is why we're building raised beds, guys. There's a couple of plot neighbours that also have beds like this, one of them was actually digging a big trench, and there was just water right down underneath, like loads of water. I said, yeah, that's why I'm building raised beds, because I don't want to be digging all this. It's just too much. I'm only 27 years old. I'm quite fit and healthy, but still, I ain't digging the ground when it's waterlogged and it's heavy clay, when I could just be building raised beds, which is going to be much easier in the long run, in the long term. Here's a bit of a face palm moment. Take a look at this. Another one of those classic, why the hell did I do that moments. A couple of years ago, I put these ponds here. I just used these old plastic tubs, storage container things, and you know what, they've done all right. They've got some oxygenating plants in there, and a couple of other plants growing in there, and the frogs come here, and they've got some water snails in there, and it's a pretty nice little corner over here. But the caveat with that is, when it rains, they fill up, and this entire area here just becomes a floodplain, and it is a path as well. So this just gets completely flooded with water because of this here. So what a silly idea that was, putting that there. I'm not going to move it because it's just too much hassle to move it now. But yeah, it just all floods when it rains. So you end up with all these water snails and bits of oxygenating plants scattered all over the path. So it's not very good that. I'll be walking down here and it'll be crunch, 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 crunch as I'm standing over all these poor water snails. There, look. Let's move them back in there. So that is one of those really stupid things that I did. I do regret doing that now. But at least it's only a problem when it rains. It's only a problem when it rains. Now, the other day, obviously we had a lot of rain. Honestly, we had so much rain yesterday. I don't know how much we had, but it must have been like 50 millimeters at least. It was like a good part of a month's rain that we had yesterday. Yes, whilst we were having the rain, obviously I didn't want to do anything outside. So what I did, I tidied the shed, which is a job that I really needed to do. That was a big job. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's much neater than it was. So that's good. Got tons of pots there. I think every gardener has loads of pots. But yeah, the shed is tidy, ready for the winter, I think. It's almost time to harvest our parsnips, but I'm going to wait until we've had some frosts. I did pick one the other week and it was all right, I suppose, but we're still patiently waiting to harvest the full crop, hopefully for Christmas. Yeah, I think we'll have some nice parsnips for Christmas. These have done really well in this raised bed, as most things have, to be honest. Most of my beds are raised now, and all of them are going to be raised after next week. And most of the crop which we did get this year is from raised beds. A lot of them are pallet collars, others are just normal raised beds. Your conventional raised beds like these, although this one didn't provide anything because of the suspected aminopyralid. We don't know for sure what I think it was. Some sort of herbicide anyway. Yeah, we've got our spring onions there, nothing interesting there really at the moment. Yeah, raised beds, they're going to be very similar to this, the new raised bed that I'm building. Brassicas still haven't been eaten by the slugs or the rats. There is a lot of rat activity in here, and there's evidence of it everywhere. There's an apple there. There is a corn cob there. There is little holes about, and there's also some rat droppings as well, which we really don't want. That's not good, is it? And yeah, there's like potatoes down the back of there as well, so lots of rat activity. So what I did is I put this bait here, and apparently it's poison free, it's safe for organic gardening. Yeah, Kim from That British Homestead commented saying, how does it work if it's poison free? And that's a blimmin' good question, Kim. I have no idea. I actually thought that It was my mum that bought these. I'm not too sure where she got them from, but she got these, and when she told me that they're poison free, I thought, well, how did it work if they're poison free? I don't know. But the rats have had a nibble on them, as you can see there, so they are taking the bait. So we'll see what happens. We're going to have to keep a lookout for dead rats, because we don't want them lying around, do we? The strawberries and hanger baskets have been brought back inside now. They were just drying out too much, so I left them outside for the summer after they'd finished cropping. So they're going to sit in here over the winter and hopefully produce a nice early crop next spring. Okay, so the new plot, I'm sure a lot of you have followed my recent updates over the last few weeks and few months, and you've slowly watched this plot unfold, going from an overgrown mess to being completely cleared and covered in membrane. Now yes, we did make a mistake of buying the 1 metre wide membrane. To be honest, it's all we could get hold of at the time. We wanted to get this covered as soon as we could, and yeah. The main concern with that is, one, it took much longer to lay it out. If we'd got the 4 metre wide stuff, it would have been much quicker to do it, and less pegs involved as well. And also there's the concern of tripping over the overlapping membrane like that and basically destroying it over time. Now we are going to be putting more pegs down. We've only quickly put a few down really, so we're going to put more of them down, and there's going to be wood chip paths put on top. Now that's going to require some maintenance over the coming years, because we will have to replace it with fresh wood chip every year or two, because the weed seeds will eventually germinate in that wood chip. You know, it will turn into compost and provide an environment that seeds can germinate in. So there's that to think about, which isn't too much of a problem because I already do that on my plot already. I've done that for the last few years really, and yeah, that's it really. A lot of you guys were commenting saying you were concerned about the weed suppressant membrane, and I think in this situation where there was a lot of bad stuff underneath here, it was sort of the only option for us really, and I feel like this is going to make it much easier for us. Obviously we'll see. We might regret that decision in a few years time, but I'm sure we'll let you know anyway. But yeah, because we're only going to be putting potato buckets on here, them 30 litre buckets which you saw earlier, and raised beds as well, I think we should be okay here with the wood chip paths around. We've got our pallet compost bays as well, which I've only just quickly done one of them, but the chicken wire is probably going to go around these. I've got a few more of them to build as well. I'm not looking forward to having to sweep all these leaves off this membrane. Every autumn all of these leaves fall off the trees, and yeah, it really does make a bit of a mess. Small polytunnel's looking a bit crazy at the moment. This is the only part of the allotment I've not cleared yet. We did harvest some sweet potatoes before, video on that soon. I'm not going to give anything away, no spoilers. We'll see when I upload that in a few days. Yeah, we harvested them today. Butternut squashes, looking alright, still growing away I think. Some pretty decent butternut squashes in there. I mean, decent for me, you know, I never managed to grow them at all, so you know, I'm alright with that. The little green ones which don't come to maturity, a subscriber suggested that I could just still cut these up and stick them in whatever I'm cooking and stir fry or whatever, which is, yeah, good idea. Never even thought of that. I can still eat them even when they're like that. So yeah, good stuff. Physalis is just, I'm not going to grow physalis again next year. It's just a waste of time really. There are things that grow well on my plot and things that don't grow very well on my plot, and this is one of the things that doesn't grow very well on my plot. I say that because these little lanterns here do have some sort of fruit in them, physalis. They do have some fruit in there, but I mean, they're supposed to be a little bit bigger than that, and they're not even ripe. They're supposed to go orange when they're ripe. And apart from that, they're just taking up so much space. There's only 3 physalis plants here, and look at that, that whole corner has just been taken over. And I think I started these physalis plants in February or March, so you know, before I even started the tomatoes, I started these, and yeah, I'm not going to bother with them again. I did take the tops off to encourage them to bush out, and I did everything that I needed to be honest, and yeah, I'm not going to bother with them again. I'm just going to grow stuff. I'm going to focus my energy on stuff that grows well on the plot. You know, tomatoes are always a good one. Next week when I'm off, I'm going to get all of this cleared, I think, ready for next year. Actually, no, I'm going to put my garlic in here. Garlic's looking all right. We'll have a look at that in a moment. But garlic's looking pretty well. I'm going to stick that in here, I think. Seems to do better in the polytunnel. I think the greenhouse needs a bit of a clean. The water's been turned off now, as it always does for the winter, so the pipes don't freeze. I probably should have done that. I probably should have cleaned the greenhouse before it was turned off, but it's all right. We'll do it in the spring, I think. It's just all this algae. I suppose if I cleaned it now, it would have algae on it again by spring, so you know, I may as well do it in the spring. But yeah, there's quite a bit of algae on there. I've got loads of brassicas left here. Mostly just in case we lose the others, I suppose, if anything eats them. But look at our garlic. Planted these a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, they're looking really well. I think we're on track to get these in the polytunnel in the next couple of weeks, I think. And this is all from this year's harvest as well. I picked the best cloves to carry on the traits to next year. Always pick the best cloves to plant, so you end up with better chances of a bigger bulb next year. And yeah, that's good. We're self-sufficient with garlic, which is absolutely amazing. The first year, which is good. We did harvest these pumpkins the other day when I started making room for the new raised beds. I took the pumpkin plants out. Another reason why we're growing in raised beds, these were grown in the open ground where the soil's quite heavy, and of course we had a wet summer. And this is all we ended up with. Out of like 6 plants, I think I planted in there. 6 pumpkin plants, and this is what we got. It really is a joke. So, you know, raised beds seems to be the way I'm going to be going. Loads of carrots here. Absolutely loads of them. The outdoor ones are finished now, but we've got loads of good looking carrots here. I'll just try and show you guys a little bit better, because I noticed, I looked back on my YouTube analytics, and it showed me that people were pausing on the part where I showed the carrots. That one's actually split into 2. There, funky carrot. I think that's just because there's compost in here and it's quite rich, to be honest. You know, carrots don't really like a rich soil. If they start to fork, you know, they send out these little roots from the side of the carrot, and those roots turn into massive long things, and you know, they can start growing wild and not straight. But yeah, I think we've got some nice carrots growing in there, I think. Let's have a look at this one back. That looks like a nice decent one there. I'm not picking these yet. You know, it is so tempting. That one's got quite nice. That one looks good. And the varieties, by the way, are Autumn King and Amsterdam Forcing. I've planted a couple of buckets of each. I'm so tempted to dig one of them up now. You don't even understand, honestly. The temptation to dig these up is just so much. These ones are a bit behind them ones. Much more lush and leafy than them ones that I've noticed. Now, the rest of the greenhouse, nothing, to be honest. I did have a bit of a tidy in here the other day. Looks much better. We harvested a few Jerusalem artichokes the other day. I've recently taken a liking for Jerusalem artichokes. I'm probably just going to plant these back in another bed. Have them as a permanent bed for Jerusalem artichokes. A plot neighbour just gave me a couple of tubers this year and I grew them in a container. Nothing crazy there, but I'm going to plant these in the ground somewhere. Those are the strawberry plants which I spoke about earlier, which are going to be going in the buckets in the strawberry cage. Yeah, spinach is still giving us pickings. We've had a good few handfuls of spinach off these now, and also the baby gem, not baby gem, all year round lettuce. Looks a bit like baby gem. That's growing okay, I suppose, even though the light levels are dropping. But yeah, that's the greenhouse. Not that much going on at the moment, but still a few things to see us through the winter there. So yeah, guys, it is like a swamp. I feel like Shrek would really enjoy being down here. It's very wet. I mean, we should be used to that by now, you know, living in the UK. It's well known for its doomy, gloomy weather. Anyway, so I'm off work next week, which means I'm going to be down on the allotment doing quite a bit of jobs, hopefully making a lot of improvements. Now is the time of year to start making those improvements and doing the DIY projects. You know, if I were to try and make these raised beds in the middle of summer, it's not really a good time to do it because everything's growing. But on the other hand now, you know, late October, things are really settling down now. The only things growing really now are the things which are grown through the winter, you know, the garlic, the leeks, the brassicas for the overwintering, the carrots, you know, spinach, lettuce, you know, those things were growing over winter. The weeds are slowing down and it's just much quieter. So that is what I'm going to be doing, getting the improvements in place ready for next year, and hopefully that will pay off in dividends from next year onwards, because most of the crops which we got, like I said earlier, are from the raised beds. So it only makes sense to make more raised beds when literally the onions, for example, growing in the open ground, and these pumpkins here, which were growing in the open ground, did awful, absolutely awful. So it only makes sense to build more raised beds. Just another little vlog video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, and you have a passion for gardening like I do, then you might want to consider subscribing to the channel. It's completely free, doesn't cost you anything, and that way you'll never miss whenever I upload new videos in the future. And if you enjoy the video as well, guys, hit the like button because it really does help out a small channel like mine a lot. If you've got any feedback or suggestions, leave them in the comments as well, because I try and reply to the comments whenever I can, and I love talking to you guys as well. So that's all for now, guys. I hope you all stay safe, stay dry, stay warm. I'll see you in the next one.